What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scary Snobs. That is right. Me and Sturdy are here to entertain you, talk horror. Along the way, we might have some special guests. Maybe we can convince Mick to do an episode with us down the road, talking horror. But we're here to talk horror with you guys. We're going to have news stories going on in the future. Today is just a get to know me and Sturdy and what we're about and where we came to be so fascinated with horror. But how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I do got a quick thing though, right? So I had a podcast last night, my other show that I co-host on, Popcorn and Pints, and my main screen died on me, right? So like I'm getting, you hook the HDMI to it and all, I'm getting all the stupid lines through it. And I'd rather, obviously, I've had the TV, me and my wife were just talking about it earlier, since she got me the TV like a year within our relationship. So we've been together for 13 years. I had the TV for like 12 years. And it just decided to shit the bed, but I'm getting ready to... it was doing the lines thing, but I could just like turn it off, turn it on, or put it on an HDMI source. But now it's doing it for all three HDMI sources. And I'm just like, you know what? I had to just put it to the side. I had another TV I put to the side just because it's older, the resolution, the color. But I had to make that my new number one. I had to take that one out of retirement and permanently retire my other one, which is a little heartbroken, but I am replacing that. I just had to get that little rant out. And the reason why, people, is because I do watch parties, I do podcasts, I do all this stuff. And I know you guys are thinking you don't need a big screen for all that, but I'm so used to doing it like that and just having this system like that. And again, watching movies, because like I'll do like a watch party up here when I do them, or I'll do them, and 9 times out of 10, it's horror stuff. 9 times out of 10 is horror, people. So yes, we're huge horror fans. I feel like I was like, I guess we can segue into what got us into horror and all that fun stuff, because this is our intro episode for you guys. And
I want to say, though, having a big monitor as a podcaster or a streamer is a great thing to do, because you can have all your windows open on one screen. Because when I'm doing mine, I'm always looking over at the other screen and it looks like I'm not paying attention, but I am. So I dig that. I might have to think about doing something similar.
Honestly, the funny thing is I have the other screens too. I'll have so for the other show, like where I spin the wheels or I'm clocking our ratings down and all that, I have the other screens for that. But it's all, and then it's like, the main screen's good though, because I also use this for game. Like I use this for everything, for all my streaming when I'm gaming and all that. And then I have my other side screen, or third screen to look at the comments and all the other fun stuff. So it's just like, I don't need it, but I need it. That's what I'm telling myself. And that's going to happen hopefully by... I already looked at some TVs today. I went over to Best Buy after we went to the movies. I went over to Best Buy, which did see a horror movie today. 5 horror movies in theater so far this year. I'm proud of myself.
What did you see today?
We seen Fear. Me and the wife, we seen Fear today, which I got to do a quick review for after this. We seen Knock at the Cabin last night, which same thing. I do a review.
I want to see that.
The other, I might as well tell you guys, it's a horror show, right? So we started off with Megan, then Friday the 13th, the original, which Friday the 13th, January 13th, I had to see it in theaters. Because that's my favorite slasher franchise. So I was like, I have to see this in theaters when it comes to theaters again. And it did. So we seen that. Infinity Pool, and then Knock at the Cabin and Fear today, which is 4 and 5. So
nice. I want to see the Friday the 13th in theater. I want to see Jason X in theaters again, because I can just imagine seeing it now, 20 years later, with a bunch of people that know what the movie is and just having fun watching it together. Like, I'm the same way, man. When I see a movie in theaters that I love, like every time Goonies comes to theaters, I'm there. I've seen it like 6 times in the theaters in the last 10 years.
I respect that, man.
It's a fun experience. I saw Jaws in theaters recently, speaking of horror, and I was so disappointed because the copy they were showing us looked like a VHS copy. And I know that Jaws is an older movie, but I know there's better copies of Jaws that you could give us on the big screen. I was so disappointed because I took the boy to see it. But what was your introduction to horror? Like, where did the fandom start to spark with you?
Great. So for me, I honestly cannot tell you like the very first movie I've seen as far as horror goes. I wish I can, but so for me, of course, VHS days and all that. And I have older siblings, and older cousins. But for this, it was my older brother Zach. I'm gonna name all of them. They don't watch my content, but I'm gonna name all of them. But it was my older cousin Zach, or my older brother Zach, cousin Gisela, my cousin Jerome, Jeff, and Josh, and they're I'm 37, and I think Zach, Giselle, and Jerome are the youngest out of all. Well, there's 5 of them. They're all like 43, and then the other ones are just older, like 40. Yeah, they're older than me. And it was one of those things where they would rent, like when we're at my mom's house or one of their, one of my aunt's houses, it was same rule. Aaron, you can hang out with us. You could watch these horror movies with us, but do not wake up. If it was at home, don't wake up mom or don't wake up aunt so-and-so, because you knew what was going to happen if you wake them up late at night. I'm not supposed to be watching those movies with them in the first place. Now, me waking everybody up scared and vice versa, we're all going to get it. Simple as that. And then I can't hang out with them anymore. So it's like, all right, you got to do like that tough stuff to an extent. But it was then that got me into it. And I was about probably around 5, honestly, 5 years old, just following them, because it was one of those things where they would let me follow them. You want to be with the older kids because you think the older kids are cool and shit. And they would let me follow them around watching these films. And I remember one that scared me. I don't know if it's the first one that scared me. I know it's not the only one that scared me, but one that stands out that scared me, and it was all around these times, I'm sure, was Creepshow Part 2, The Hitchhiker. Thanks for the ride, lady. Like, man, to the point where I don't remember who I asked, but it was like, hey, I got to use the bathroom. Can you walk me to the bathroom and wait outside the bathroom while I'm in there? And then I'll come back. But I would always come back and watch the movies. Like, I'm sure that's happened more than once, but that's one that really stood out for me. And it's so crazy that, like I said, it started around 5 years old, and 32 years later, I mean, I started a podcast sooner than that. I actually but it's like, I'm still a fan of it more than that. Cause as a kid, it's just like, you're just getting into it, you're just learning about it, and you're still learning, but I was just getting into it, just learning about it. And I'm watching it because they're watching it. Like, say if they grew up real deep into, and I'm not saying that they weren't like fans of like the superhero movies. Of course they weren't what they are now. I would have probably been a fan of it like that. And I'm not saying I'm not, but for me, horror is number one. Just, I think my biggest reason why I love horror so much is because one, I've been watching for so long, but 2, you can literally go in any direction. Now, it doesn't always mean it's going to be a good movie. Do not get me wrong, but you can go in any direction and figure out a way, find a weird way for it to make sense. For example, Thanksgiving, a killer turkey. I use this one as an example, not only because I love the movie, but I also think about it as like, if you were to go watch or if a movie came out, like say if Marvel had like a super turkey or super chicken, nobody's going to want to really go see that. Especially if it's live action. Maybe if it's a fun animated thing, you take the kids. But Thanksgiving, for the horror fans that'll watch the B movies, go watch that. Please go watch it. If you have not seen Thanksgiving, wait till the week of Thanksgiving, which I call the week of Thanksgiving. I don't even do it on purpose. It's just what I call it now. And that Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, I make sure I watch part 1 and part 3, and I review it every single year on my podcast. And I'm always hoping to bring in this one new person to watch it and review it with us, or at the very least watch it. Like this past November, the wife watched both part 1 and part 3 with me. She didn't like them. That's fine, but she actually sat there and watched them all the way through. And yeah, man, no, it's just, I've met so many awesome people, including yourself. What got you into horror? Because I know this conversation we're gonna get good into it. But who or what got you into horror? And then I guess just what's the one movie that you remember that scared you as a kid as well?
I'm trying to remember if it was the Puppet Master movies that were my first introduction, or if it was, I shouldn't say first introduction, my first memory that I remember, because I'm pretty sure I'd seen things prior to the Puppet Master movies and Stephen King's It when it came out in the 90s. I'm trying to remember which one went first, but I can't think farther back than that. So I would say Stephen King's It was really my first gateway into horror. I loved the story as a kid. I watched it all the time. I rented it so much from the Meijer video store. Yes, if you don't know what Meijer is, it's kind of like Kroger. And back in the day, Kroger and Meijer used to have rental places within the supermarkets. Yeah. And I rented it so much from Meijer that the guy gave me the VHS copy when I was done.
That's awesome.
But I used to go. They used to do 5 for 5 for 5 deals at the local video store. Me and my cousin, whenever he was in town, we would go down there. We'd rent 5 horror movies and we'd watch them. I was pretty basic with horror back then, so it was pretty much the franchises, the Fridays, the Nightmares, the Chuckies, and I'm still a fan of all of those. I think my next movie I saw in theaters, the first horror movie I saw in theaters that I can remember would have been Freddy's Dead.
Ooh.
Nightmare on Elm Street 6.
Okay.
I remember because I got carded for it, but luckily we had our friend's dad with us, so he took over. But and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I remember leaving the theater, like I was young, so I didn't fully understand what I had just watched, but I was really into it. I liked the Freddy coming into the real world, and that movie set up so many different directions that horror took post that movie with Scream, which is my favorite franchise, and just all the other stuff that came out. And I've fallen more in love with it as I've gotten older. I've branched out a lot more. One of the things I love about horror is horror within itself has all of the different genres in it. Like,
yes,
horror comedy, horror action, horror adventure, horror this, horror that. Like, it all the other genres fit within horror, and that's something I really, really dig. I like watching an Evil Dead 2, where it's frightening and hilarious at the same time. Army of Darkness, which is a straight up slapstick comedy movie. It's fantastic, and it's a horror movie. Yeah, I love the genre because of that, because there's so many different things. And I go to the horror cons, and whenever I go to a horror con, I'm going to one very soon, Carolina Fear Fest with the guys.
Yes.
But the fans there seem to be the most friendly, most passionate.
At cons, right?
Yeah, and you don't get the toxicity with horror as you would with Marvel or a Star Trek or a Star Wars, where people are fighting and yelling at you. Hold on, you got a toxicity horror story?
No, I'll say this really quick. No, I was gonna say yes, I have one that I can say as far as like, I remember there was a con out here, and it wasn't a horror con per se, but Robert Englund was here, and that's who the person who I'm about to discuss is. He wasn't necessarily, he was just one of those people that was just like, and I don't mind this. Listen, first of all, I want to say this, people. I don't like gatekeepers. I don't like when people say you're not a fan of, because we're talking horror, you're not a fan of horror if you haven't seen this. You're not a fan of horror if you watch this. And if you're a fan of horror, if you're watching horror, playing horror, if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of horror, if you enjoy something that's horror related, you're a fan. You don't have to be a deep dive podcaster or know every single movie or every single game and all that stuff. No, that's ridiculous. If you can know all that stuff, that's dope. But so with this guy, right? He was there, cool, VIP and all that, cool. And we're downstairs, like, we're in the waiting area. I was there with one of my friends who had a pod there, and so I was helping him out. But my wife was there too, so I was waiting downstairs with her because and. So there's a guy there he has a suitcase full of just stuff he wants to get signed. Cool. A bunch of us actually, this right here, Thanksgiving, this is why Thanksgiving is important. I actually made a friend that day that we're really good friends to this day. And we're all standing in the line, just talking, you know how it is at cons, just talking random horror stuff. And people are talking about this because some people haven't been to cons before and this, that, and the third. And they're just like, they're all happy to meet Robert and whoever else they're there to meet. There was a bunch of people. There was a few people there. But the guy was like, yeah, he was like, if you don't get, he was just telling people like, if he was like, yeah, man, he's like, I have the suitcase full of, things I'm going to get signed. I got VIP, so I'm going to be first. If you don't get VIP, you're not guaranteed to get an autograph. You probably won't get all, like, just a bunch of stuff like that first. I was like, that's not true. That's not true at all. Like, it's cool if you get VIP and all that. Cool. If you can afford it, you can get it. Yes, you get front line and all this other stuff, but you also have to get up there before everybody. You don't just get front, you know what I mean? So there was that. And then, a bunch of us were just talking just random horror movies, mostly B movies. And then the gem came across, like, Thanksgiving. Shout out to my boy Matt, because that's what I was talking about when, the friendship came. And, like, we were just talking. So we talked about that and a bunch of other B movies. And I was like, yeah, have you guys ever seen Thanksgiving? And it just, let's say 5 or 6 of us were talking about it. Then The one guy. Oh, he wasn't even in the conversation. Like I'm one of those people when it comes to conventions and stuff, those type of things. I don't mind if you jump in the conversation because we're all talking about for this with Thanksgiving. He comes, oh, and I don't know. I would never watch those type of movies. I only watch, like Nightmare on Elm Street, the big name movies, which is perfectly fine. He was gatekeeping in like a different weird way, like only watch these movies that come out in theaters, and that's it. And I'm just like this. He was wearing a red hoodie, by the way. Red is my favorite color. But like, if you ever hear me mention red hoodie for you guys, cat's out the bag, meow. On my streams, I'm either gaming or it's gaming with my boy Matt or potting with my boy Matt. We mentioned just red hoodie. That's who we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Because it was just like this weird kind of, I don't know if he was like this weird kind of I'm better than you energy or what it was that he was trying. But how those people, there's some people that kind of portray that off. And it was just, but it wasn't a horror convention. And I didn't care either way. Like I knew what I was doing there. I've been there before as far as the con stuff. And I knew all the stuff he was saying is bullshit. Oh, sorry, can't swear. I won't swear again. BS, bullshwinkies, and it was funny though because like so we ended up going upstairs. I was helping my boy at his table, and my one friend that I met that day, Matt, he was the first one to get an autograph. He didn't have VIP. He was like, yo, that guy was like fourth or fifth in line. By the time he got up there, like 4 or 5 of us already got stuff signed. And he's up here with all this. I'm just like, oh, why do people do this and act like this? Like, I understand if you're like, yeah, man, as far as the VIP goes, it's cool to get because of blah, 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 blah. But to kind of make people feel like they're not going to get things signed. And then my biggest thing was just the whole, I will never watch these movies. Like, I will never waste my time with these, which, cool, fine. I get it. I do. I really do. Now, if it's one thing where we're all having a debate or a podcast, join the conversation. Say why you wouldn't do it. But I don't like if you're going to, and it goes for everybody. Like, if you're going to be negative about a conversation or like that, not you know what I mean? Or it's just like, why join into it? It's one, if you're a part of it, and you're already a part of it, talking, yeah. Oh, I don't really watch those kind of movies for whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's not my cup of tea. But just I can't. And I'm just like, oh, you're missing out, man. Because there's so many, as you know, my friend, gems out there that are just, and they're not always the best movies, but they're just so fun to watch. Like for me, for example, like I told you, Friday the 13th is my favorite slasher. Are they the best movies? No. I did hear you mention Scream, though, man. I did hear you mention you're a big fan of Scream.
Oh man, I'm the biggest fan of Scream. I freaking love that franchise. Hold on before we dive into that. I want to comment on what you said about you're not a fan if you haven't seen this. Max on my podcast, he looks at it as a different way, and I think more people should look at it this way. Like, I can't believe you've never seen Last House on the Left. I'm jealous that you get to experience that movie for the first time. That is the way to look at it.
Yo. I want to tell you, oh my gosh, one more thing. Shout out to my boy Chris, Worst Name Gamer. His podcast, we were on, which he'll have his coming back around. But anyway, we did the Marvel universe from Phase. I'm not deep into this. I'm deeper in the horror than I am with this Marvel stuff. I do enjoy those type of films. Don't get me wrong. But we did all the way up to Endgame. So all the movies from Endgame and back, I'll say. Of course, we did it in the chronological order. And for a lot of those, it was my first time watching those. And he was just like, he was like, I'm so excited, so happy that, you're going through these and reviewing these with me because he told me he was going to be reviewing them. But he was like, I'm so jealous that you get to watch these films, some of these films that you haven't seen for the first time. And it's one of those things where for me, it's like, and I love that your friend said that. He said Max, right?
Yeah. My co-host on 3 Geeks.
Shout out to you, Max. And go check out 3 Geeks. He's right. He's right, because it's one of those cool things. It's a cool experience where you get to, like, I wish at times I wish I can go back and watch, like, say Friday the 13th in theaters, but in 1980. You know what I mean? Like, what's okay? That's one for you, man. What's if you can only choose, and let's just use slashers for this one. If you can only choose one franchise that you could say you could see every single movie when it came out in theaters originally. And just to make it more fun, you get to watch them twice. Once you get to watch it with the knowledge you know about the movie now, but back in those days, and you get to watch it with the hyped up rumors, scariest, all this other nonsense, and then you get to watch it going back in time, but it's like you've seen the movie for the very first time. But again, back in that, you know what I mean? Back in that era.
I'm going to take Scream off the table because I did see those in theaters because that would be my obvious pick. I would love to go back and rewatch all of those for the first time. For me, that's a very good question. For me, it would probably be the Friday the 13th.
Nice.
I would have loved to have been able to experience all of those in theaters. I was too young to see them in theaters at the time. And, my family was never really big into horror. So I only got to see Jason X and then Freddy vs. Jason, which I love Freddy vs. Jason. I will defend until the day I die. But I only got to see those two in theaters. And I've seen the original Friday the 13th since. But that's the franchise I would like to go back and experience in theaters.
Nice.
Just because I'm slightly it was between that and Freddy, and I'm just a bigger fan of, I think, Friday the 13th just by a hair.
Good choice of words.
Right, that's what I do, man. That's what I do.
But back to to Scream, man, because this is gonna be something I can tell already, and I cannot wait because it's gonna be fun, friendly banter of us going back and forth about these movies. Because I don't like Scream at all.
Wow,
I just don't. I never did, and to those of you that do, cool. It's just one of those, and this is what I like though about this kind of thing is because, again, you don't like it. I know there's a lot of people that do, which is cool, fine. Not gonna bash the people about it. I will talk junk about the movies, but I won't bash the people that enjoy the movies because this is what we do, people. This is what we do. So I'm sure you'll see us debating about some movies that we both enjoy. And hey, I actually want to do. You know what? I'll tell you that after I'm getting ahead.
You don't like any of them, not even the original?
None of them.
I know people that like the original and they don't really like the sequels, or they like the first two and they don't like the rest. Whodunits is my favorite genre of anything ever.
Okay.
So it's already got me in that sense because Scream, if you break it down, it's just a whodunit movie from start to finish with all the other stuff added in. And it's got my money. I absolutely adore that franchise because of that. And now I've been experiencing it with my daughter, and she's been really digging it as well. It holds a lot of special memories. I saw the first Scream. It was on my birthday with my dad in the theater. So, that, and then he took me to see the sequels in the theater. So I have a lot of fond memories surrounding those movies. And then even Scream 4, him and I went and saw in theaters together, but he tapped out at 5. But I'm still going strong. Like
Oh, go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm down if they keep the formula the same. Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm glad that 6 looks like they're straying away from the formula a little bit, but we'll see. I can't wait to talk 6 with you. I'm very excited because I don't look at it as, oh my God, I can't believe you don't like it. Well, that doesn't affect me in my fandom of it. I don't understand. So many people do that, like online, like, oh my God, you don't like this franchise? How can you call yourself a fan of this genre? And it's like, It just doesn't work for them,
I do understand when I do get the argument when someone's like, how do you like this movie, or how do you like this movie, or how come you don't like this movie type of deal. I get that. But when it comes to how do you call yourself a fan because you don't like it, because you never, that's just like, because I'm a fan of this and 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 this, because I'm a fan of horror. I just don't like this, this right here. But I think it's honestly, it's fun though, like when you have people come on your show, or you have a co-host, and there's a certain franchise or film or whatever that one really enjoys and one doesn't, and then you're going back and forth as to why, because it's like, oh, okay, I can understand why you don't like this, or I can understand why you like this, and of course we'll correct jokes and all that, because that's just what I do. I'm sure Jason does.
I do, and I gotta say though, you gave a hot take not liking the Scream franchise, so I'm gonna give a hot take. I despise Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I think that movie is awful. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not one I get.
It's fun. It's funny, but I can see why people don't like it, because it's not as sinister. It's not as scary as the first one.
I get it. I think I need to revisit it because I was expecting the first one. Like, I didn't know that I was going to get the movie that I got, because it is a vast departure from Texas Chainsaw 1. And I think I need to go into it again expecting what I'm going to get, and I'll probably enjoy it. I need to find the time to do it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a really hard movie to find online, because it's It's super expensive. I think it's out of print currently.
Really?
Yeah, I did like the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
That wasn't okay. So that one, I'll say with that, I forgot what I gave it on my podcast, but it was fun. It was definitely fun. I think I only watched it. No, I watched it twice because I think I watched it once with the wife and then a second time to kind of review it. The kills, that bus scene.
Oh, dude, I am a slasher fan more than anything else, and the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre was that. Yeah. It was a slasher movie and very violent, and the bus scene was amazing.
Slasher is my favorite genre in horror. It goes slasher, and then it's a tie. Yes, it's a tie now between paranormal and found footage. I don't know what it is about found footage that I love so much, but I just love it. And then, you know what it is though about found footage, because I'm not gonna say it's like real, like realistically, but it's just one of those things where it's just like I go back to, and I just seen this movie 4 years ago tops, let's say. I don't remember when. And it's fucking, I'm drawing a freaking blank. I almost swore again. I'm drawing a freaking blank. Oh wow, what is the movie? The Blair Witch Project. Loved it.
Did you?
Loved it.
I've got thoughts.
And I know I know there's people that like, we reviewed it on my podcast. And they don't like it over there. And then like I just got on this weird fix with just over these past few months of just watching a bunch of found footage movies, and I'm just like, oh, I gotta move these. I didn't know where they were on my list before, but I'm like, it was 3 a few months ago. Once I started watching these movies more, and I'm like, you know what? This is tied with paranormal. And another reason why I like found footage is because with found footage, you can have a found footage started as a found footage, and then it can go into any other subgenre of horror. Like you do it with a slasher, paranormal, whatever you want, if you wanted to. I'm not saying it always works, but if you wanted to. And yeah, it's just a fun freaking genre.
I'm starting to like found footage. Blair Witch Project made me understand why people commit murder, because that lady that's the main character in that movie, she annoyed me to no end during the entire thing. I'm like, I shouldn't be rooting for her to die, but I am. She's awful. But I avoided found footage for so long because I thought the character was so annoying that we were fixated on this, and I figured it'd all be like that. But I really like the Paranormal Activities. I watched VHS 94, and that plays out like a found footage movie. My favorite subgenre right now, and there's not a lot of them, it's the Zoom thing, like with Unfriended and The Host that was on Shudder.
Mm-hmm. I did see The Host. Yeah, that was cool. Those are fun. Those are fun. And honestly, man, like those, I don't want to say they're easy, being disrespectful. But I mean, we get the right people. We can do a little something. Is all I'm saying. We have to talk with some friends to do some sort of fun little spooky thing. We'll figure it out. But those, I did see the Host movie. I didn't see Unfriended. The Host movie was pretty fun. The
first Unfriended I like quite a bit. The second Unfriended is okay.
And then going
great.
Really quick. Going back to Scary Movie. Going back, I like Scary Movie better than I like the Scream movies. Like the first one or two. When I started doing those, I just had more fun with them. Like you know what it was with Scream too? I just couldn't take it serious. I know you're probably not supposed to, but it's just one of those ones that just didn't click.
I get it, man. I get it 100%. Like I said, Blair Witch didn't click for me, but I didn't mind Blair Witch 3, the one that came out and it was found footage again. I've never seen the second movie.
Oh, the second one is bad. I made them. Oh, when did I watch that? I did a watch party for it, maybe like a couple weeks after I did the original Blair Witch, and I was like, I can't wait to see it.
Oh, one of my guilty pleasures is the bad Amityville sequels. I love watching the bad Amityville sequels so much. I'm talking Amityville Dollhouse, Amityville The Next Generation, Amityville 1990, I think was one of them.
Wasn't there like a clock one?
There was a clock one. I think that's the 5th or 6th one.
I don't remember what it was called, but there was like clock. There was something to do with clocks, like in that house or some. Because I remember that one reviewing it a while ago. There's a lot.
I think it's The Next Generation, the Amityville with the clock.
Mine was
it was Amityville 1992. It's About Time was the one with the clock.
Maybe that's the one. Mine was if you want to call it guilty pleasure, because they are bad movies, though, but the Final Destination franchise.
I love those.
So they're so fun, but when you watch the actual movie, like I just did a few months ago, I was watching I watched all the ones that are out because there is a sixth one coming out, by the way, and I do want to see it. And I'm just watching, I'm just like, they're so bad, but just I can't turn my head away from it.
Oh, I loved it. We did Mick and Casey did a Halloween special last June or July, and we were talking the Final Destination series. I like all of them except for the fourth one. I can't tell you why I don't like the fourth one. There's just something about the fourth one that doesn't click the same way as the rest of them. But I think 5 might be my favorite.
Really?
I like how 5, spoiler alert, 5 circles around back to 1. I like that a lot. That
was probably the best part of 5. There was, 5, I don't remember everything with it though, but the way that it circled back to the plane at the end of the movie, that was dope. That was really dope, really smart. And it honestly, and don't get me wrong, because I'm a sucker for remakes, I'm a sucker for reboots, I'm a sucker for sequels. That would have been the perfect ending for that one.
Yeah, but I want another one.
Oh, at the same time, me too.
And deaths are amazing in that franchise.
At that, honestly, Final Destination is something I wouldn't be mad if they did like 25, 30 movies. I know that sounds crazy, ridiculous. I know I may be exaggerating some, but if they want to add like another 4 or 5 to the franchise, go for it. Go to 12. Matter of fact, go to 13. End at 13.
My opinion is that Happy Death Day is a spiritual sequel to Final Destination because it's got a lot of those creative kills and that same kind of randomness. It's fantastic. Well, this has been fun. This has been a lot of fun. I discovered today when I was thinking about us talking that I miss video stores so much. Yes. I want to move somewhere where video store is still viable. I think in California, there's a lot of video stores, or quite a few of them, because it's within Hollywood and people like to check out the more obscure films. I miss going to the video store and talking to people about movies, because here we can talk about movies, sure, but just like every day being out, you don't have that same experience.
It is, and it's that, and it's just the whole. Say this is a movie case, you're picking up the movie and you're like, oh my gosh, this case, like we're literally renting movies because the case looks cool.
Yeah, you got to read the back sometimes too to see if it sounds interesting, and just the whole experience. What do you think of this movie? What do you think of this movie? Let's check out this movie.
I missed those parts, and I want to go back to what you were saying earlier about the video renting movies from the grocery store. Yes, guys, we used to do that as well. They used to have them here at like Price Chopper in Hannaford. It would be like up in the front. Right up in the front. You go up there and there's like a little section where the few movies there. Of course, it's not as much as the regular video, so of course it's not, but there's still something there. And oh my God, I just missed that. I missed that. I missed the video stores, like you're saying, the interactions you have with people. You're going to rent freaking whatever movie it is because 1, the case looks cool. 2, whoever you bumped into, hey man, I've seen this movie before. It's pretty good. But every Friday you go in there, it's out. Till this Friday, it's finally, hey, we just got it back in. It's already back. Go get it. Go get it. Because you know how it is. Like I'm sure Blockbuster did them too. We went to Blockbuster here and there, but we had one up the street from us called Screen Gems. And once you're a regular, they just pretty much know who you are. Know you're like, hey, I'm waiting for blah blah blah. And you just go get your. And I just, oh my gosh, man, the streaming thing is great. Don't get me wrong, just because it's convenient. It's convenient. It's good because of the laziness part of it. And just, even with like, I won't even say lazy, but like when the weather's bad, like for example, Friday night was like -10 here. It was freezing Friday. It was freezing Saturday. I don't want to go out in that. Let me just go on Amazon or Netflix or whatever and rent a movie or watch a movie. But there's still the physical media and just, oh my God, man. And on top of that too, like the downside of streaming is even if you have all these platforms, it's okay. Now we're not going to show this movie on our platform anymore. who knows
man,
anything. And I hate that, yo. I hate, especially being a podcaster / movie reviewer, content creator, and all that. It's like, yeah, we got to review this movie. It's on Netflix. Tomorrow it's gone. Here's another one, yo. I'm doing a watch party for the Harry Potter movies, right? It was on HBO Max and Peacock, which I do have both. But I was doing them all through HBO Max, and just last week they were just like, bye. I got one more movie to watch, just 7 Part 2. And that's the downside of the whole streaming thing. But again, the plus side of it is I can do those watch parties and stuff, which I freaking love to do. So it's, oh man, bring video stores back though. Why did we get rid of them?
I am a physical media guy. And to what your point is, sure, they took away Harry Potter. You know, I'm sure there's ways that you can find to get it, but like they took down CBS All Access took down the Twilight Zone, Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone, and that you can't find streaming anywhere because it's a CBS All Access thing. So as soon as I can, I'm going to go out and grab that because I love that.
I heard it was good. I didn't even watch it, but I heard that it was actually pretty good. I heard mixed reviews. I know how some people feel about Jordan Peele and his content, but the stuff that I've seen is real good. It's just, I feel, how can I word this without people? I don't care about them. When people don't see themselves in the main light anymore, people that look like them in the main light, they don't know what to do as for like, and what Jordan Peele's doing for the movies and for horror and stuff is just, he's not casting white people. He's just giving black leads and giving us better roles in the movies that he does in horror movies. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's fair. I think it's 100% fair. And people are upsold. And here's, and I'm not going to stay on this too long because people are corny with these type of things as far as their hate, but he's racist because he has black leads, even though his wife is black and his kids, and he's biracial. I believe his mother is white, his dad is black, and then his children are biracial, his wife. So it's like, what are you guys talking about? Because he's giving people that look like him a better opportunity that get looked over all the time. Hey, you want to be this horror movie black guy? Hey, you're going to die first. You're going to be the comic relief. Like, no, get better roles than that, people. Opportunities for everybody.
I could care less what the person in the lead looks like as long as they can act. That is my only criteria for the movie. Like,
I'm with you 1 trillion. As long as the person can act that role out, whatever it is, I'm with you 1,000,000,000% on that. But I do understand where there is a role that maybe this role is better for a lead of this gender or race or whatever, and this lead is better for this race or gender or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's just like, okay, now come on, people, let's not get upset over this and just Favorite horror video game if you have one?
Friday the 13th on the NES.
Nice. Oh my goodness, yo.
You like how fast I threw that out? Like, there's no question. Like, there's a lot of good horror games, but that is the one that pisses me off the most and the one I enjoy the most.
You know what it is about that one, man? And I have it laying right here somewhere. The music. Mm-hmm. I mean, the game is it's fun. It's fun and it's very, very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. But it's fun in a weird, just because it's a horror game, it's Jason. But for me, I'd have to say probably the Resident Evils. And I'm not someone who was a diehard fan. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not someone who's been playing it for years and all that. Not as far as like people that have started. Like my brother's been playing since part 1. I wish I did. I didn't start playing. I may have played part 1. I'm sure I played part 1. All those other ones up here and there because I didn't have a PlayStation then. But I started with, as far as playing all the way through, was part 5. I did. Mm-hmm. I beat part 5, 6, and 7 are the ones I played all the way through. I do have part 8 I want to finish. But I'd say that just because of the way the story is, and especially like when I got to and this is just from what I've played through for 5, 6, and 7. Now what I've watched through for the other ones. But like I'd say Resident Evil. Just as like a whole, because it's just, but 7, that story.
Oh, 7 made me jump like 10 feet in the air.
I can't tell you how many times. I mean, I smoke, so that just makes it way more intense. And once I figured that out, like how jumpy I was doing that, I'm like, you know what? this is how I'm gaming from now on, especially horror, because I just like that. And that's one thing real quick on that. That's one thing I miss so much is not being afraid of horror anymore, like I was as a kid. I wish I can have that fear as far as not after the movie, not before the movie, no nightmares, all that nonsense. Had to pause for a second. But not all that nonsense, but more so of just during that time where you're like your heart's racing. Not where I don't want to cover my eyes though, just like where your heart's racing, maybe you're even digging into your seat. And I don't really count a quote unquote jump scare or jumping as much as really being, because it's just like, oh shit. Sorry, Mick. Oh shoot. I'm a work in progress, man.
You're fine.
But no, like I want that kind of, you know what I mean? It's almost like when your mom's yelling at, like, you know, you got in trouble in school, that heart, like that adrenaline, that I want that when I'm watching these movies again. And I wish I can have just from when the movie starts to when the movie ends. After that, I don't need to be having nightmares telling my wife we need to sleep with the lights on and all that because I'm scared. I don't want that part of it. Just the movie part. I want to be, and not terrified like that, but you know what I mean? Just like that, oh my gosh, like that, oh. And not that, oh, because it's good, but that, oh, because, oh my God, that scared me.
Well, I'm going to ask you before we get out of here We'll wrap on this question. What is your favorite horror soundtrack? Mine is Phantasm. I love that soundtrack.
That's tough because I never really listened to a soundtrack, to be honest with you. And that goes just for movies in general. Like I'll pick here and there, just listen to songs. But I'll say like, it excites me. Horror music excites me, especially from, I'll just use two, Halloween and Friday the 13th. And the reason why I say though I'm just using those two as examples just because it's what popped into my head first. But what I love about them is, you can probably throw Nightmare on Elm Street in there, but when certain songs are playing or when there's certain tempos, you know what's about to happen. And with those films, because we've seen them so many times over and over and over again, you're like, I know what's about to. It's like, how do you listen? Did you hear that high-pitched noise right there? Yeah, Jason's around the corner. I'm going to watch. Aaron, you're in the kitchen. I don't care if I'm cooking. I'm going to watch this kill real quick. I'll be right back. And with that, I would have to say, yeah, it's more so like when I'm in the moment of the movie, watching the movie, just a certain tone, certain sounds type of deal. I've never, and that's something, you know what? That's something that I need to do. That's something that I need to do. I need to get my hands on some of these soundtracks and just kind of listening through them. Because I've been talking real quick, just to kind of wrap this up. Me and the wife have been talking for the past X amount of years. It's just, when you have the money and actually doing it, is getting a record player and then buying the horror albums. Because I miss, like, you know, back in the day, when my parents listened to records and stuff, but the crackling of a record, you know what I mean? Like that, and that crackling, like, listen, I think that works so well in horror. Speaking of, it's just like that, and it's creepier. It's creepier because it's not as clean as far as like if you listen to an MP3 or a CD, even it's not as clean. If you listen to that crackle of a record, and then, you know, of course, the record playing background, all that other nonsense that they do, the cool stuff they do in the movie, the horror movies, all that. So, yeah, that was a long-winded answer. I got one for you though, man.
Yeah.
With the Scream franchise, right? Part 6. I'm sure you're going to see that in theaters.
Me and my daughter have already got tickets.
I love that, man. But okay, if you don't mind me asking, how old is your daughter?
She's 15. She became a fan about a month before Scream 5 came out. We've binged them all together.
Oh, nice. So is she into horror, really?
She is a work in progress. She likes it when we watch it, but sometimes it's a battle to get it. Like, she likes Stephen King's It, the remakes.
Okay.
She liked, we watched Mr. Harrigan's Phone on Netflix recently, which is a Stephen King adaptation. She really dug that. Yeah, I would say she's a fan. Child's Play. She loves the Chucky show. I do as well. I think it's one of the best shows on TV. Did
you guys watch Megan yet?
No, it's on our list.
It's good. And honestly, one thing I will say, I guess this episode's gonna be longer than what we discussed, man. I'm trying to shut up. But no, what I want to say about the Megan thing though, what I'm thinking it's gonna be awesome. I'll say this about that. I'll say this about Wednesday is this Halloween. You're going to see a lot of little girls dressing up as those two characters. And I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. Because I really do feel horror is a very important genre. And I do feel, and I'm not trying to tell parents how to parent, but you should, if you're a horror fan, you should try to get your children into it. Even if you're starting with the more innocent stuff. If you start, I mean, however you want to start them off with, that's on you guys. But even if you start off with Goosebumps and all that, and I just say that because it's like, one, teach them, I mean, it's just that these movies and stuff like that, the monsters are not real. That's a big thing right there. But I mean, it's just, I think it's just another cool art form. And if it's something that you really do enjoy and appreciate, it doesn't have to be horror, but this is a horror show, so that's what we're talking about. Try to get your kids involved, not forced, but it's like, hey, let's watch this fun movie. Let's watch this. Hey, I used to watch this when I was your age. And it's cool when you get to have these conversations, when you go to these cons and you see these kids, or I've had a couple on my podcast that were into horror, that whatever, because their parents are. I'm like, okay, come on. But I want, the parent would ask, yeah, it's cool, but I'd prefer if you're there with them. That's all I ask. You're there with them. But no, I just think it's another cool, it's a really cool thing. And I mean, if you look at it, like for us, like I said, I started when I was 5. You started in your childhood. Yeah. Most people around our age, also, let's just say, because I'm roping myself in this group, 50 and under. Between 50 and I'll say about 30. Between 50 and 30 for the most part. I feel like a lot of us just grew up watching horror as kids, probably younger than we're quote unquote supposed to, just with the ones we were watching at that. It wasn't necessarily that we were watching horror. It's just like, okay, so we're just going out with what you guys are watching. Like how you said earlier, you just watch like most of the mainstream horror. For the most part, I was the same way, but that's just what I was introduced to. That's what I can get my hands on. And I mean, again, I was a kid, so whatever they rented, yeah, I'll watch it. Yeah, get it. I'll watch it. With the podcasts, said that with an S. it gives you the opportunity. It makes me watch so much more movies that I wouldn't either. One, I've never heard of, and two, I just would never even thought of watching them. Just like, And it gets you out of that whole watching the same stuff over, that same cycle of movies that you love and adore, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's like, okay, I gotta start branching off and watching more things. And yeah, so get kids into horror, people. Please get them into this wonderful genre. Take your blinders off, people, because horror is the best genre out there.
Yeah, I got a good gateway movie. Watch Ernest Scared Stupid. That movie is both funny and terrifying to children.
It is funny. I haven't seen it in years. But yeah, just, again, it doesn't have to be the crazy stuff that we watch. It doesn't have to be the crazy, violent, bloody, over-sexualized stuff. It doesn't have to be that. It can be, like you said, Ernest Scared Stupid. It can be Goosebumps. Stuff like that. Start them out simple. I know there's more. I just can't think of any off the top of my head. But start them out simple. Scooby-Doo. Seriously, Scooby-Doo. Because I know it's always somebody under a mask. But you got that. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like those kind of shows, growing up on those kind of shows. And the movies we watched really, really did keep me in the horror. Like when I couldn't get my fix for like the stuff I was used to with the movies, it's like, okay, well, Are You Afraid of the Dark's on TV? Goosebumps is always on. And there was more. I know there was more. Sometimes it was just like a Halloween episode or something. I always had to watch those, whatever it was, just because it's just like there's some sort of little horror story, fun horror story with it, or just some. I gotta watch it, even if it's a comedy show. I'm like, they're gonna try to throw some sort of horror in it. And listen, people, watch horror. Watch more horror. Enjoy more horror. It's horror. And we're the Scary Snobs. We're telling you the truth. We wouldn't lie to you about something like that.
Well, we've said it all today. And there's a lot of other topics we can go down. Bad horror movies that we really, really love. Check out Killjoy. There's so many out there. But, Sturdy, where can everybody find you online?
HorrorWithSirSturdy.com. You go there. You can get all of my links. And also check out Popcorn and Pints. Popcorn and Pints is my other podcast, non-horror movie podcast. Do reviews. Same with Horror with Sir Sturdy. It's just non-horror. It's a great, great time. Jason, where can our lovely followers find you?
You guys can find me on all the social medias at 3GeeksJ. You guys can find my podcast at 3Geeks Podcast. Wherever you find podcasts, it's the same for all the social medias and so forth.
What's that?
I was going to
say, because we both didn't do this part. when do you record? Like, what are your times? Do you like your lives? When do you do your lives?
We do our lives Sunday at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Eastern, right?
Yeah.
Nice. And then really quick, people, Tuesday, Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Tuesday, Thursday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for Horror with Search 30. And every Saturday, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for Popcorn and Pints. And again, just Horror with Search 30, Popcorn and Pints. You see this face, you know it's me.
Thanks to Mick and Casey from both of us for letting me be a part of this, and for me to be able to rejoin the Scene Snobs family. I've been trying to get back in ever since the network ended, and they gave me the door open, and I'm forever grateful. And then until next time, guys, it's me and Sturdy saying goodbye.
Your black friend Sturdy is out of here, people.
Hey guys, Mick here. Thanks so much for watching the show and supporting us. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming back and joining in the comments. But guys, I really want to thank you, our patrons who are out here supporting us, helping us keep the lights on. Really, truly appreciate you. Tim, Paul, Stacy, Matt, Aaron, AJ, George G3, Chris S, Dale, Chris H, Dan, John B, Ron, Jason, and John W. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Guys, we have 3 tiers available right now. As of March 1st, we're adding 2 more tiers for a total of 5 with tons of perks. So go check out patreon.com/thescenesnobs. And join our Snob Nation Discord channel where the moderators are keeping everything going and we're having really fun conversations over there and more. So go check it out. It's free to join and just be part of the Snob Nation. And remember to embrace the absurdity. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. We have tons of great shows coming out and more. Our lives are over on Patreon, but you can check out the Snob Nation Morning Drive live show on our YouTube channel Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern, and tons more shows coming up thereafter. We have great shows like the Scene Snobs Podcast, Betting Bros, Math vs. Smash, Real Combat, movie reviews, and tons more. We have fun over there, and we think you will too. If you're looking for great merch, go over to the snobsmerch.com store. Use promo code SNOBS for 10% off of your order. We have tons of shirts, mugs, everything, stickers, all different types of designs. We love it. I think you will too. So go check it out and let us know what you think. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms. We are at the Scene Snobs everywhere. You can also follow Casey at Planos21 on Instagram, at Casey the Madman on TikTok, and at Twitter Night on Twitter. Guys, tons of fun stuff and new things coming out every day, so go check out our content there. Thank you guys again. We are the Scene Snobs. Embrace the absurdity with us, and we love you, and we'll talk to you guys.